The CBS Evening News starts now. Good evening, I'm Norah O'Donnell, and thank you for being with us. Tonight, more than 40 million people are in the path of a severe storm threat that is rolling across the country. Heavy snow from Colorado to Minnesota caused travel chaos at the nation's airports, with more than 3,000 flights delayed. And the biggest threat from this dangerous weather will come overnight from Missouri to Michigan, with dangerous winds, massive hail, and possible tornadoes. So we're going to have more on that dangerous system in just a moment. But first, we want to begin tonight here in Washington with the age-old story of Congress leaving it to the last minute to get its job done. Tonight, the issue is a potential government shutdown Friday night and the decision to fund Ukraine or risk an international fiasco. There are some new developments today after an intense Oval Office meeting with President Biden and congressional leaders. And this comes as Russian forces are gaining ground and Ukrainian troops are running short on ammunition. CBS's Charlie D'Agata is on the ground in Ukraine to give us the scope of why the aid is so pressing. Good evening, Charlie.
Good evening to you, Nora. We visited many frontline towns since this war began, and troops are always jittery. But today, there was a real sense of fear mixed with frustration. The Russians are on the move, and there's a genuine sense and a concern that Ukraine just doesn't have the weapons to stop.
Following the relentless bombardment in the battle for Bakhmut, Russian troops repeated those brutal tactics in the recent capture of the city of Avdiivka. Now the Kremlin's forces are bearing down on Chasiv Yar, where today we saw a town under siege and calling out for help.
The writing is literally on the wall here, and the message couldn't be clearer. We are not asking too much. We just need artillery shells and aviation. We'll do the rest ourselves.
Hardly a building has been left untouched after months of shelling, but soldiers say the past few days has seen an increase in the ferocity of the offensive. The exchange of fire is non-stop.
You can hear the explosions. It's hard to tell whether that's incoming or outgoing, but we are within easy reach of Russian artillery and mortars.
Chasiv Yar sits only around 6 miles west of Bakhmut and north of Avdiivka, cities that have become long-standing symbols of Ukrainian resolve, but were ultimately unable to withstand Russia's sheer number of forces and firepower. Ruben Sarakanian is a soldier with the 5th Assault Brigade. Right now, we're facing problems with artillery shells, he said. We rely on the support of the United States. We're facing problems, and our men are dying. While Congress argues over the $60 billion Ukraine aid package, President Zelensky says Russia is exploiting the delay. The vast majority of residents have already abandoned this place. Some may feel the West has abandoned them.
Soldiers repeat the most pressing need is artillery, Nora, that they simply cannot fight Russia toe-to-toe. They won't say how much longer they can hold that territory with the stocks they have left, but warehouses are already running empty.
Charlie D'Agata with that reporting from the front lines. Thank you. And that military aid for Ukraine was the subject of today's high-stakes meeting between President Biden and congressional leaders. Also at the center of the Oval Office conversation, that looming government shutdown and the crisis at the U.S. border. The president even spending one-on-one time with Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson. CBS's Lisa James at the White House.
President Biden told congressional leaders this morning that the time to send Ukraine more money is now.
I think the consequences of inaction every day in Ukraine are dire.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, who has refused to allow a vote on new funding for Ukraine, was pressed by everyone in the room, including his Republican colleague, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell.
The meeting on Ukraine was one of the most intense I've ever encountered in my many meetings in the Oval Office.
So what made this meeting one of the most intense you've ever had here in the White House?
The urgency of supporting Ukraine and the consequences to the people of America
But Speaker Johnson came out of the meeting undeterred, insisting on action to address the southern border first.
We must take care of America's needs first. When you talk about America's needs, you have to talk.
아, 気持ちいいね。おはよう。泥だらけだけど。ならなくていいの。ね。終わったやつだ。瞬間食べた。いますね。昨日からまた出てきた。この人気のない。
猫によってね。
みんなさ。
おはよう。おはよう。おはようさ。お家があるのかな。
お、ゆくたん食べた。